So I'm Ian Morgan, I'm Director of IT with WJEC. We're an exams board based in Wales but offering qualifications across the UK, including Northern Ireland. We offer around 3 million examinations, papers sat across the UK. Obviously not all those on screen. We only wish that they were, and maybe the future will be that that's the way we go. We use e-assessment for on-screen testing. We use an e-portfolio system for submission of coursework, non-examined assessment, particularly pushing that forward in terms of the Welsh Baccalaureate qualification, in terms of some of the digital work that is part of that qualification. We need to embrace that and move further forward with that. We use e-processing for online marking of examinations, which is scanned images and then marked online. And we've worked with BTL for over 10 years now. I have to kind of come back from that a little bit because Sonia said it was 2008 this morning, so I've exaggerated a little bit there, so I apologize for my exaggeration. But all the while, we see a strategic relationship being built with BTL and with others in the room. So I'll mention Alpha Plus, we work with Creatio, and we're doing some work with City and Guilds as well. And I think it's that partnership working, that opportunity to work together on things is the bit that makes this whole thing exciting for us moving forward. In terms of our current Surpass usage, A-levels, GCSEs, and as Andy mentioned, high-stakes exams are quite difficult to deliver in this environment. I mentioned in last year's session about the regulation and the impact of regulation and comparability and access and all those kinds of things. But we're still pursuing it. We're still keeping going. The numbers aren't increasing significantly, but they are increasing, particularly as we move more and more into the vocational side of it. Some of the things we're doing with hospitality and catering, the partnership work that we will be doing with City and Guilds for health and social care in Wales, where Wales has taken a new approach, similar to what John mentioned just now. The approach in Wales for health and social care and childcare is a single provider for all qualifications, level 1 to 5 in Wales. And ourselves and City and Guilds have been successful in winning that partnership with Qualifications Wales. And I think that provides another exciting opportunity to start to look at those assessment opportunities, the tools that we use for those assessment, and really bringing it to life. The things that Andy was talking about this morning, virtual reality, all those things in that sector become more and more important. And the use of technology in those assessment processes is something I think we feel we're able to push forwards. And one of the other things that we've done more of this academic year was computer-based projects. We're new to the computer-based projects world, and we've used that for non-examined assessments this year and uploading of candidate work, and we see that again as a future as we start to move those things forward. And all those things start to build the confidence of the use of the technology, of the Surpass platform in centres, and hopefully will hope to evolve over a period of time. One of the things I intimated in last year's presentation was around this piece of research work that Qualifications Wales, the regulator in Wales, and CCEA, the regulator in Northern Ireland, had undertaken. And what they looked at is the comparison of on-screen versus pen and paper kind of activities. And it was a kind of lightweight. The document isn't lightweight, it's about 80 pages long. But there's a lot of information in there. But it was particularly looking at the impact of the use of the technology and the way the candidates felt in the way that they undertook the assessment. So looked at two organisations, as I said, Northern Ireland and WJEC, and looked at the benefits of e-assessed approaches, looking at GCSE Applied Business and GCSE Applied ICT, where one organisation offered on paper, one organisation offered on screen. And it was to analyse the development and delivery of the qualification assessment through those both techniques. I've pulled out a couple of example findings, and I don't expect you to read them. There's a lot of numbers in it, and I'm no statistician, but I was just picking up on the headlines. So for the enjoyment of the assessment, GCSE Applied ICT respondents found the exam significantly less enjoyable than e-assessment respondents. An enjoyment rating of 3.11 versus 2.53. Must be positive because they said they enjoyed it more. The effect during the assessment, a significantly higher proportion of EA respondents reported feeling happy and well prepared. Pen and paper respondents were significantly more likely to report feeling worried. So again, anecdotal, but we had this questionnaire going on at the end, and we were gathering that information and assessing how the learners felt. And then assessment preference. The ratio of pen and paper respondents who preferred paper-based assessment to online assessment was approximately 2 to 1. In contrast, examined assessment respondents showed a marked preference, more than 6 times for online assessment compared to pen and paper assessment. There's some interesting statistics there, isn't there? And yet we still can't embed that in the process in terms of the qualifications in which we work in. But surely if the focus is back to some of the things that Steve was saying about this morning, is about the learner, we should be looking at how we implement these things in the best interest of the learner and not in the best interest of the way that we assess qualifications. There's a whole list of other things that the learner experiences found. Second one there, candidates' assessment preferences may be content dependent and influenced by prior exposure. It is all about building that confidence. You don't teach them one way and sit them in front of another way of doing the assessment. It's about building that confidence, building that knowledge in the system. The benefits of the assessment may include enhanced cognitive and organizational functioning, communication, efficiency and productivity for the candidate with lower physical strain. So again, the way they engage with the technology makes it easier for the candidate to undertake the work that they're looking at. One of the other things we also did is we talked to the awarding organisation. So we got an awarding organisation point of view from it. And you know, there's some key things that come out of that. Legacy regulatory qualification criteria do not allow the assessment of high-stakes assessments to consist of only objective questions. Therefore, if on-screen testing is to be used in high-stakes assessments, the on-screen assessments would need to be capable of assessing a construct in other ways than objective questions. Again, we need to think about the kinds of questions, the way we write those questions. Further exploration is needed of the requirements to provide paper-based alternatives to on-screen assessment, and that significantly inhibits innovation and the development. And again, that's a theme that we will be seeing throughout the conference, the theme that we've seen in previous conferences, the same theme I talked about last year, is that inability, that inhibition to be able to move these things forward into new and more exciting ways of doing things. And just some high-level observations from the research. Candidates should be provided with greater access to sample content and the e-assessment interface ahead of the e-assessment. Makes logical sense, doesn't it? Don't sit them in the room to do something for the first time. Build that confidence over a period of time. The standard operating procedures for e-assessment centres should include advice on whether or not there is a need for the distribution of paper copies of the exam. Again, the way that we operate now, we've got some tests which are compulsory. On screen, we call it. But okay, if there's a problem in the school, we won't worry because they've got a paper version there as well. We give them the opportunity to opt out because we provide the paper-based. And yes, regulatory, we have to do that in order to ensure that those candidates can access the exam. But we're shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit sometimes because we are providing that safe, that fallback all the while. And if we're saying on-screen compulsory, we should be saying it's on-screen and it's compulsory. And that's the way you undertake the test. So what's the driving factors for WJEC? Well, increased use of computer-based projects will be into the tens of thousands now in the summer 2017, 30, 40,000 at least probably in terms of candidates. We've got the consortium working that John's already mentioned with Alpha Plus and BTL, which is for the on-screen adaptive test for years 3 to 9, for numeracy, procedural and reasoning, and literacy, both English and Welsh, with the first test to be delivered from September 2017. September 2018. So in conclusion, there is a will to increase the use of on-screen assessment. We need to provide assessment environments that reflect the way that our learners live their lives. Absolutely need to be reflecting what they do. And for me, based in Wales, I think the national test provides an opportunity for a real game changer. I think it really does in terms of not just the use of this as a testing methodology, but learners and schools' engagements in it. If you think that every child in year 3 to 9 in Wales will have sat in front of a BTL screen to do adaptive testing at least twice a year probably, by the time they get to the more formative GCSE and A levels, some of my learners in that 6-year period will have done at least 12 or 36 tests because there's 3 subjects, and then we'll sit them in front of a desk with a pen and paper. Surely that can't be right in the modern world in which we're operating. I see this as a real opportunity for all schools in Wales, all learners in Wales, to really push the boundaries of the use of technology, and hopefully Welsh Government, regulators, Qualifications Wales, particularly in Wales, will be able to reflect that in the way that the curriculum is developed over time, and we'll be able to see more and more of this technology being used in an effective way to assess our learners in the modern 22nd century. Thank you very much. That's not me.
That was really good, thank you.